control.
I know. She should sit here.
All right, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need them.
And we got it set.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the meeting will now come to order. We will begin with introduction of members. We'll start with town staff. So tonight we have with us Dawn and John. If
Hi,
you-
everybody.
Hi, John.
Hi, John. Any other town staff? Okay, for commission members, we'll do introductions starting on my left.
Victoria Chet.
Bob Ellsworth.
Chantel Foster.
Carolyn Freeman.
Robert Taylor.
Okay, and we have one member on Zoom. Tom? Thank you. Okay, we will not be seeing alternates tonight since we do have a full contingent of members. So the next item is to accept our revised agenda as we received in an email this afternoon. May I have a motion to accept that agenda?
So moved.
And a second?
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the agenda is accepted, and our first item is a public hearing for application 21-11, 9 Rose Hill Road, request for special permit for outdoor special events including weddings, gathering, functions with sitting and standing room, live music and entertainment, wine, beer tastings, outdoor movies, fireworks displays, outdoor lighting, and proposed 22-foot by 25-foot structure for golf simulator. Application and property of Nexus Golf Properties LLC, Assessors Map 60, Lot 4, Zone RR. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
And a second?
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the public hearing for application 21-11 is now open. Would someone like to speak on behalf?
Bob, before
Yes.
we start,
Yes.
I just would like to let everybody know that I live at 12 Rose Hill Road, directly across from the Quarry Ridge Golf Course, which this is at, so, and this will, the location of my residence will not affect any decision-making that I have on this.
Okay, thank you, Carolyn. Okay, would someone like to speak on behalf of this application, please? And if you would, please come up to the podium and identify yourself, please, your name and address.
Sure. I'm Patty Vale, 110 Blue Hills Drive in Guilford.
Tim Vale, same address.
Vale.
Okay, thank you.
We are the owners of Quarry Ridge Golf Course at 9 Rose Hill Road, and we would like to add a patio off of the deck in the back of the building, just for basic outdoor seating. Let people be able to sit outside and enjoy dining, drinks, some light entertainment. We're not talking about, our idea is not to have major bands, just acoustic, duo, trio type of bands, nothing not like a massive concert or anything. Just something to get people out, to get people, Quarry Ridge has a beautiful property, and we're trying to really get more public, give more public a place to go to enjoy the beautiful property, get them out, something to do. Wine tastings and beer tastings have become really popular, so we'd like to be able to do that outdoors on the patio. Just some other things that we've thought about to provide entertainment to locals in the town are maybe outdoor movie, where people can sit on the patio and we put up just a big screen and just show an outdoor movie, just a possibility. The fireworks displays is just, again, a possibility. We were told to put anything and everything.
Not a regular occurrence, maybe a special
Yeah,
event.
we were told to put everything and anything on this, just so that we could, get it approved, or now if it was going to be approved. So that is not something that would be done on a very frequent basis at all, if ever. Yeah. Have any questions
No, that's it.
for us about it? Or?
Okay. Questions from commission members?
got some information, which I think you were also privy to from our town engineer, that he had questions. So I guess I was wondering, like, specifically about parking and, the number, if you had a special banquet, I think we talked about, not having, the bar area open or something. Could you kind of elaborate
Sure.
on that a little bit?
Yes. So, if they're, basically the downstairs banquet area, if it was full to capacity, then the upstairs areas would be closed for use, and the outdoor patio. If there is no one using the downstairs banquet facility, and then the dining room, we would have seating in the dining room and in the bar, and 49 additional seats as were allowed on the patio. So there, if the patio, if there's 60 people on the patio, then the dining room will be shut down. So there would be no dining, so we would not be exceeding our maximum capacity number due to the size of the septic tank.
Okay, which I wasn't sure what that number was. Was it 119, or am I, from the way I read it, I guess I was getting the numbers.
I believe it's 112.
Okay.
And so the way you're managing the whole septic system is to just only have certain parts of your establishment in use, so that
at
you're
one
not
time.
going to actually increase the number of
Correct.
people that you're having there. Is that true?
Right. We will not exceed that number. So if there are 49 people on the patio and 9 people in the bar, and I forget the specific number in the dining room, then we won't have, so there would never be an event downstairs that had, say, 100 people in the downstairs banquet area, and then also the dining room open and the bar open and the patio open. We won't be able to do that, and we will not do that.
That just sounds like a hard thing to manage, because it's like the whole thing would be like, oh, well, if we have, can we accommodate 20 more people? Oh, well, sure, we can put them here, you know what I mean? It just seems
Absolutely, I agree.
kind of tricky.
It'll be difficult, and it'll be tricky.
Yeah.
Well, I think the part of it will be the parking will limit, we would never be able to have that either, because we're limited on the parking. But the downstairs events are few and far between, so I think we have some, obviously we control when we allow somebody to book an event downstairs. And in those cases, we need to advertise that either the restaurant is closed, or the bar is closed, or and the outdoor patio might be. When we have an event downstairs, those same people would be able to use the patio, so that would kind of make the patio, the same people, that same group would be using the patio as well. It wouldn't be any more people.
Mhm.
So then it would just be the bar or the restaurant that would need to be shut down.
So it's really just an overall capacity then of what is your overall capacity, regardless of where they are? Because I think what you just said is, if you're only going to have an event that's going to be like on the patio, people could use this other places. They could, right? They could walk over there, but it's your overall capacity is.
The overall capacity is much larger. It's the dining. It's just for the people dining that it's 112. So if we're having something where people are not dining, then we can certainly have, if people are in the bar drinking, not dining, or it's just the dining is what the part that limits us.
Okay. So it's 112 for dining.
Yes.
So you could have people, you could have an event downstairs. I just want to try to understand this. You could have an event downstairs in the thing, in the
The banquet.
banquet hall.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could have a different group, or just different people. 40. What's your capacity there? 40.
Well, 49
49.
would put us at, if the dining room is full and if the bar is full, we could still have an additional
49.
49 on the patio. Yes.
For just
To dine.
Just
That's
dine.
dining.
Oh, just
Dining, not people. So if we were to do an outdoor movie and it's, there's no food involved, the capacity, it's a larger number that can be, and in the building, the numbers are higher.
Mhm.
It's just the 112 is for the dining.
So I have a question. How then does that not increase the flow of the septic? If you're having,
Right.
if you have 100 people in the bar drinking and only 49 people dining, you're meeting, there are 200 people in the bar drinking, that you're going to increase the flow to the existing septic system. I think that was the concern, and that was where the restriction came from, right?
The numbers that were previously, under the previous ownership, wherever those numbers came from, whoever the fire marshal was that approved them, the numbers are very, very higher, much higher than the capacity really is. So, I mean, if you've seen the size of the bar, there's no way that, we could fit 100 people in the bar. It's just not possible.
There's a formula that your engineer gave us to do the calculations, and there's a big difference between dining is, I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but there's X number of gallons that they say could be added to the septic system, and then if you're not dining, if you're drinking, it's roughly 3X. The number, it's 3 times less gallons, so 3 times more people if you're just sitting at the bar. So, yes, it's a complicated formula that we have to stay on top of. Obviously, our plans will be, if this is successful and people want to be here and want to be at our place and we're turning people away, we will at some point be looking to increase the leach fields so we can get those numbers up. But right now, we're dealing with what we have and restrictions that were placed on us.
Did you want to talk about the plan, or, did you want to take us through these things?
Sure.
It's fairly simple. It's a paver style patio at ground level. It will have a few tiers because there's elevation changes in the backyard. So there's upper, middle, and one that wraps around a little lower around to the side of the building. We're going to add a set of stairs so you can get from the deck down to the patio. Small area that could be used as a stage, so a small circular area where someone could set up to do music, and 2 fire pits, and some landscaping around the edges. Pretty straightforward.
So, are you putting a patio where they used to store golf carts on the side there?
Close.
I don't know where they used to,
Yeah.
in the paved, where
When
there's
you
like
walk-
It comes close to that area, yeah.
So it's gonna be like wrapping around that area?
It'll connect to that area, yes. There's a,
the majority of it will be off the deck, in the actual back of the building,
Yeah.
looking towards the tank, green. Yeah.
And where's this, I'm trying to where's the simulator?
So, that should show on one of the maps
Yeah.
as a small, I might be able
I think on document A102, Carolyn?
I know I
believe it's
saw
about
it.
50 feet or so northeast of the back end of the patio.
Yeah.
So almost onto the 10th hole of the golf course. It will be abutting the 10th hole.
So it's 1 in 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. Labeled A102, I think it's like the third or fourth page. Right?
So where is it?
It is on,
Proposed simulator, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so on page A102.
Third one in.
And if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you see the building, and then you can see there's septic tank and some other things. It's a square that is, if you follow the line kind of by 3 to 6.7, there's a square. So there's a few trees, and then it's just on the other side of a few trees.
And can you just explain for non-golfers, can you explain what that is?
It's about a 20 by 20 building where you can step inside of the building and play what's called virtual golf. So in other words, you're hitting a golf ball into a screen
Mhm.
with a projector,
Mhm.
and that records your data, and it's just like playing real golf. You'll see your ball on the screen and land on the ground, and you can play a full game of golf in the simulator, which would be nice for golfers that come in afterwards and maybe they want to play a little bit more, but it's too dark to play outside.
Mhm.
They can go in that building.
You were talking about lighting a hole,
10th hole.
the 10th hole. Is that attached to the simulator? Was that my understanding? Is that you could,
Yeah, there's a method to play golf where you can start inside the simulator and then finish actually on the physical 10th hole. So if we do that, it's not scheduled right now, but in the future, if we were to do that, we would add some lighting along the sides of the 10th hole and along the green on the 10th hole.
okay, so you're not proposing to do that now and add that lighting now?
No,
So you would come back to us to
I guess so, yeah.
talk about the lighting?
Yeah, because we don't have the lighting designs for you, because it's not in the plans right
So you're in this little house
Yeah.
over here,
now. Yeah.
and you'd be hitting a golf ball, and then you'd somehow walk out and then
Yeah, and then continue the hole, yes. It's
Okay.
different.
Okay.
If you wanted to.
Yes.
Or you stay inside and keep playing inside. You have
And-
options.
And so what is that thing like? It's just what's in there, other than the simulator?
Really,
That's
it's
it.
not much. There's a mat where you hit off of, and there's some netting to protect the building, and a screen and a projector.
Does somebody have to man that thing, or what? Like you just go in there?
Just go in, they're very user-friendly. There are places all over Connecticut that have these. They're
But
pretty-
nobody has to, you don't need
You
an
don't need
attendant
You don't
or
need an
anything?
attendant in there, no. You would check people in, and usually if they're beginners, you show them how to use it, and then they're just using it.
Okay. And there's no like water or nothing, there's no,
No,
nothing,
no.
Looking at the plans, and I'm seeing that the patio has about 3 areas that are wheelchair accessible. But the other sections, especially for like the fire pits, don't seem to have access for wheelchairs. Is there any possibility that might be able to open up like one of them for wheelchair access, so that way, everyone has an opportunity?
We worked as hard as we could with the designs and the land and within the codes that, yes, the wheelchair accessible, you're on the left side of the building to the, I don't know what percentage, but it's a pretty large percentage of the patio.
Yeah.
And then the idea, if there's live music, you're wheelchair accessible onto the deck as well. So you can be up there looking down at the live music, so. But no, there are a couple sections with stairs that we just couldn't get around.
And so what is the parking number that we have up there?
knew
I
you were
mean,
gonna
is
ask
it-
that. I knew someone was gonna ask that. I
What-
don't have it off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
I mean, I know what it looks like, because I've been up there a number of times, but, I can't, you can't see the lines very clearly. Especially in that back parking lot where, there were dumpsters and stuff, so I just don't know how many parking spaces there are.
I do know it's never been full, which is a problem for a business owner, but it's ample for golfers and some dining and even a small baby shower or something that could be in another room. So it's
Well, and when we've had a full, 100 people downstairs, or there in general, we haven't run out of spaces.
Because I think that's something that I think the engineer asked you to put on here somewhere.
Yeah, Jeff said parking calculations should be provided
I can
So we just don't have those?
I would,
Yeah, I did not get that, no.
yeah.
When I did read the motion, one of the conditions was
Yes.
that the
Yeah.
questions from the
Oh.
town engineer
Yeah.
be addressed.
Mm.
That is in the motion. As a condition.
I did see somewhere in here a reference to activities starting at 7 a.m. and then going until whatever like bar hours were, I think. It was, I can't remember exactly what the comment was.
Yeah.
But I just had a question about that, particularly for the outdoor dining. Don't we have limits on that? Don't we have like a 10 o'clock or something like that limit on
It's
noise for?
It's live music
Right.
may be permitted during daytime hours and at noise decibels not exceeding the limits of the town of Portland noise ordinance. So with like an acoustic duo or trio, you wouldn't exceed that. Fireworks certainly would exceed
Right.
that. Probably a wedding could be a problem in a residential area with the noise, depending upon, you know, and you're also talking about you are limited to daytime hours, so.
A wedding or something like that would be indoors. It would be in the banquet area downstairs.
Okay,
Yeah, people would just have the ability to go outside, you know, for cocktails or something.
okay.
Okay. So what, I have to look at the thing. I
Yeah,
have to
so
look
your
at-
you said fireworks, you just put that in there. It's not something that because you were trying to encompass everything.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want you to be ready to that.
That's for you guys to decide. We put it in there
Yeah.
as an option.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about, there's a lot of really,
I mean, that would kind of go along with the permit you'd have to get with the state. They'd have to do checks on that and everything, so that would be something the
That
fire
was my
marshal would
assumption, yes.
check into.
oh, so every time they get it, you have to get a permit, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I looked it up just.
Yes, yeah, correct.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
It's nice having a laptop.
Pretty. Okay.
Now, when I read the motion, it did not specifically mention fireworks. It did have an other outdoor activities statement in it, so,
You mean for one of the,
as one of the permitted, yeah.
Boy, I should have read that motion.
Hmm.
I thought we were gonna get it on
Mm.
paper.
I read for some, I read it quickly, but
Yeah, I didn't read it thinking you were gonna get it on
Yeah.
paper too.
Yeah. So, well, I guess I'll just say, I'm not a huge fan of fireworks, and I think that there are more negative things associated with them for just the, for the effect. If it's something that you just put in there because you wanted to have as much opportunity to do special things as you could, I would just say that that would be something that I would really like to not see in there. Just my.
Yeah, aside from the permits, I assume there was probably another step where if you were going to have it, I would have to come in front of somebody from the town and get the approval for that. If that's not the case, and we're just putting in here, and that means we can have fireworks whenever we want, I can understand your concern.
Yeah.
If we have to strike that from the list, that's not a problem.
That would be great. Thank you.
yeah, and food trucks. You talk about food trucks, and I'm just wondering, if you have dining out there, would that be kind of a conflict, or is this something that maybe a golf outing wants to bring in?
That would be the only, if somebody was, yes, having a specific function and they were having a particular type of food that our staff said, oh, it's such a specialty, we can't make that. So then we would want to be able to allow them to bring in a food truck or some other, something similar that they could get that type of food from. But
But
correct.
agreed, that would be
Under-
an
Right.
unlikely scenario, where
Right.
you'd want someone else selling food.
Right, we want her to have our
On our
kitchen staff
property.
cooking, yeah.
I guess from my point of view, I think that, you know, you should be able to generate all kinds of business, and at the same time, you are in a rural residential zone, and so you have neighbors that, you know, would like to have a quiet weekend and pay a lot in taxes and are, you know, living next to a golf course, which is traditionally a quiet venue. They don't attract lots of crowds and noises all at once. People kind of come in and then they go out, and you don't have, 40 cars coming in all at the same time, generally, in a golf course. So the balance for me and my way of thinking would be, how do you create more interest and people coming, and at the same time protect the interests of the people that live near you, and kind of respect that traffic flow and noise and light. And so that's what I want to try and get a feel for, where your balance is on that. Like, what's it going to look like to your neighbor when 50 cars come up Bartlett Street?
The biggest thing we're trying to accomplish with the patio is just giving people a space. I mean, largely people in Portland, since it's, so close, just a place that they can go and enjoy. It's beautiful, be outdoors in the weather, enjoy some good food and drinks. The other things, we are not planning to be a rip-roaring every weekend. We're gonna have an event going on, bringing in, crowds of people. It really is, like I said, they told us to put a lot of things on here to get it all out there, but really it's just to provide an outdoor space for people to dine on really a daily basis in the nice weather, and just to give us more outdoor usable space. Right now, even the golfers last summer were extremely happy sitting on picnic tables, out on the grass and dirt, and we want to provide a nicer, but nobody's gonna do that except for the golfers who wanna just sit in the sun. We wanna provide an outdoor space that's cleaner, neater, just a beautiful spot that will draw people in to just be able to get outside.
I can't speak to the traffic. I mean, we're at a four-way intersection, really,
Right.
one being our driveway. And you have to drive, it's about a third of a mile to the top of the hill.
Mhm.
So we don't have a lot of direct neighbors up on the top of the hill. Sure, if we had an event, I guess Bartlett might get the brunt of some extra traffic during the start of that. But what we're doing is not unique, really, in any way. And you look at other golf courses that are doing this all over the area. I'll just speak to Blackledge, because we used to live next door to it. They have significantly more neighbors than we do at 9 Rose Hill Road. They have live music twice a week. They have outdoor dining, they have tents, and other places aside from that. Rockledge and Stanley, this is where golf courses are generally doing, because you don't make enough money at golf to just be a golf course. You make money by bringing people that might come to your property and spend $10 or $20 on some drink and some food. And we're almost doing this for survival, to get some more people and some more revenue generated so we can survive and not disappear. So yes, there's going to be I hope there is some extra traffic on Bartlett at times, with people coming to an event that we might be having. But there's limitations. We can only have so many people parking, we can only have so many people dining, so it's not like you're having a 1,000-person concert that would really be a disruption to a neighborhood. I envision it being a few extra cars coming up Bartlett at times. I mean, there's already 2 golf courses there, so you have they're used to traffic, they're used to people coming all day long to those 2 golf courses.
There have been complaints about traffic after one of your events at the banquet hall
No.
come out.
No.
It is like that. I mean, it's traffic, because people are going, a lot of times, my impression is, people are late for their tea time.
Mhm.
So that's where you get they're faster.
Yep.
So I might be out on the road walking my dog going, slow down, but, you know,
We need sidewalk more than,
yeah,
you know.
right,
We don't like those people either. We don't like those late people, or we don't like them speeding. That's,
Yeah.
you're correct. I don't like that when they're
But
golf
it's
course.
not
I see
just
that.
golfers, I can tell you that. You have other people that do that, so, in fairness.
When is the latest hour allowed by Portland for bars and restaurants? Does anybody know? I couldn't find it. Can you guys?
They
you
usually
know?
close at like
The-
midnight or something, midnight or maybe one.
Well, for bars, last call, during the week is 12:30 and they close at 1. Weekends, it's 1:30 and 2. Most of the restaurants that I'm aware of close by, like, they shut the kitchen down by 9 or 10 at the latest, I think.
Yeah.
What are you thinking in terms of your time? Are you thinking of keeping a bar open until 12:31? Or are you thinking of closing your restaurant at a certain hour and that's kind of when the bar would close down? Like, what is your,
The kitchen right now is open until 9 PM, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. And then last call is, about 10 o'clock. And I imagine it would stay pretty close to the same thing. We're just hoping, are able to extend a few more days of the week to be open till 9, but, for the kitchen to be open till 9, but we're not gonna be a close at 1 o'clock. That's not my vision.
It's not the vision, but I think, per whatever rules there are, we might end up, staying a little later. I can't say for sure right now. Right now, it's not part of the plan, but would it be next year that we're seeing an interest in people to be there a little bit longer? I guess I would want that, and I would want to stay open a little bit longer. I agree, I don't think it'd be 1 o'clock. We're not trying to be a nightclub,
Right, we're
but
not.
people linger and 10 o'clock turns into 11 o'clock. I can see that happening.
How far away are the fire pits from the building? Because I know, I'm asking because like I know cigars usually go along with like playing golf, but Connecticut has some rather strict restrictions when it comes to smoking near a building. So how far away are those fire pits from, like, say, like the building? Like, would there be smoking allowed in the patio?
The inclination is no.
Yeah.
To your point, I do know that golfers, honestly haven't seen it yet at Court Ridge, but I do know that golfers will want to smoke a good cigar if they are outside. We haven't seen it now because we're an indoor facility with only a deck and we wouldn't let somebody smoke on the deck. But down on the patio, a little bit further towards the edges, I guess I would envision whatever's allowed would be allowed. The fire pits, you'd have to scale it, but there's 2 of them.
Would the fire marshal have addressed that?
You've certainly seen the plans.
Maybe. I think it's more like maybe a part of public health thing.
I didn't know, because it could be fire.
Well,
They're a fair distance from the building. They're further, the deck is, how wide is the deck? And then they're,
Beyond that.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, that's at least 30 feet,
I think that-
probably the closest one, at least.
Yeah.
and you're okay with the the outdoor dining, the 7-month period, April 1st to November 1st, you're aware of that? That's in the plan too, right? So, because when you talk about it, it sounds much different than it looked on paper when I was reading it,
In a good way or in a bad way.
You're presenting it, and it's more modest, the way that you're presenting it.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it sounds more in keeping with, kind of the neighborhood and
Oh,
what's there now.
absolutely.
But
I mean,
when I read this paperwork, it was like, seemed.
Party time.
Yeah, it presented a much
Fireworks.
different front than what I'm I'm hearing
I
from you,
think
which is
again,
why I
it's-
wanted you to speak to this a
Yes.
little bit.
We're really trying to capitalize on a market. If you've ever been to wine tastings at any of the local wineries, it's a big crowd, and it's a daytime event for the most part. I'm sure that those linger into the nighttime as well, but you get a lot of people out on a sunny day. You have people that come and want to sit down and taste some wine
Right.
outdoors.
Part of my vision was I wanted it to be like a wine tasting area without, we don't make wine, but where we want to have good wines and people can come and just sit out and enjoy. I see all these wineries that are packed on the weekends, and we can have some great wine and provide even as beautiful, if not more beautiful space for people to just come and relax. That's kind of a large part of how our vision for the patio started. And then to give the golfers a nicer place to sit. So yes, it's again, we were told, put everything you want to do and make it, it's.
Yeah, we went,
Yeah, so we were like, okay, so that's what we did, but it is a very, we want it to be a really pleasant place for anyone to go and enjoy.
Now, I know in the past, groundwater runoff in that neighborhood has been an issue. And I notice in the town engineer's memo, there are a couple of items that are, targeted specifically to that. He noted in some case, perimeter walls would appear to trap surface runoff. And I guess there are discharge locations and channel drains that need to be shown on the drawings. So I guess I would just like to emphasize that if this were to be approved, that those issues that have been raised by the engineer must be addressed, so as not to increase
I just need
groundwater
to get,
runoff.
we're not aware of, we haven't seen that, so
Okay.
we'll have to,
What?
from the town engineer.
We have these asks in
Hmm.
town.
Jacobson?
It's,
Dated March 29th.
yeah, you certainly should have received it.
received
So,
Yeah, I mean, you're
it looks
copied
like
in
this,
on
it's
it.
on, if you'd like to just look at it, see if it looks familiar or not. But, it's checked here that the applicant was intended to receive a copy, whether you did or not, I don't know. But,
I cannot vouch for receiving it.
okay.
No,
Is it sent regular mail or email, do you know?
I would think it would have been sent regular mail.
March of this year, no, that's very recent, so no, we did not receive it.
did you, maybe they didn't get the March 29th, this is also March 29th, this whole.
Yeah, the memo from
The
Jeff,
whole-
from
Yeah.
Jacobson, yeah.
They
That's
don't-
what she's
Oh,
looking
this
at
is-
now.
That's it,
just
yeah.
the one
They
page.
haven't got,
Okay.
it talks about. the
So you
parking
haven't
area.
received this?
No.
Oh.
Well, I can vouch for living on Rose Hill Road. I have not gotten things that people have mailed to me in the past as well. And it depends on whether or not it goes up to Springfield. Sometimes they don't come back. So,
Perhaps Liz might have given a copy to our architect? Maybe? I've not seen this.
Well, especially if it's mailed out, I should have received it, but I have not received it.
did you receive the ones from Chatham Health District?
I have.
From
Right,
much,
I'm not sure.
much longer ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Those, yeah,
Yes,
we've
yeah.
received
Yeah, that
correspondence
was
from them.
about the,
Yeah.
yeah. 'Cause I know you responded to one.
Yes.
Yeah, I was looking for the names of the adjacent property owners, and I didn't see it, so that
Yeah,
could
I
be
think-
why they didn't get that, they just didn't address it.
What's that?
The names of adjacent property owners, like that,
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of
All of
things
that.
that are not,
yeah.
Yeah.
So again, the motion does state, as a condition, that all the conditions in this memo from Jeff Jacobson be addressed.
That's, I think, why we asked if you wanted to talk about the plans, because a lot of times people come in and they'll respond to the questions from the engineer, because they haven't had time to have the plans updated.
Yeah.
I kind of just glanced at it and thought, no, we have not seen this, but if we,
Well, yeah, we asked some of the questions.
okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
for the record, it's John Guskowski, I'm interim planning and zoning consultant for the town. I've just been, while you're talking, I know Liz in the land use office is very good about forwarding emails and comments and things like that. I'm going back through the archive that I have, which only goes back a few weeks because we've just begun. But I do not see, I do see that there was a forward from Liz to the applicant concerning the health department review that I believe was received. I do not see the memo from Jeff Jacobson dated the 29th being forwarded to the applicant. So unless it was mailed, I don't know that it was emailed.
Okay, thank you, Joe. So I guess I take back my statement. I don't know, I do not know if these were are normally emailed or postal mail. I do not know that.
It says CC,
And
It
says
does, yep.
applicant.
but you don't know, you know.
I have not seen an email,
Yeah.
and I have not received anything in the mail.
Okay.
Well, do you wanna, how do we wanna handle this?
Right, so that's what I was just thinking. So this is an unusual situation. Because there may be conditions in this email from or this document from Jeff Jacobson that you may not agree with. Because it does state that the applicant must do certain things. And there are a number of them. A lot of them would typically be handled by your architect, I think, you know, changing the drawings and, or your engineer. So the two options, we could continue with this public hearing the way it is, the way I see it, or we could give the applicants a chance to review this document, and we could continue this public hearing to the next meeting. Those are the two options I see.
There's gonna be some things in this list I can't provide. I mean, obviously, my architect
Right.
had considerations for drainage, and I talked through that with him, and he'd rather talk to me about it. But it's not shown in the drawing, it's not shown. I haven't studied the drawings to that depth to know
Right.
how well it's shown. If this engineer, Jacobson, reviewed it, I would assume that he tried hard to find it and did not find information
Right.
on drainage.
Well, he's really just providing a list of things that he would want to see. That's all this is. So, I mean,
Right, see or be addressed.
yeah.
I mean, there are action items that need to come out of
Sometimes
this.
they go back and forth.
Right.
I mean, I can do my best right here, right now, answering the questions that I can.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously for drainage, the patio is pitched out towards the golf course. And some spots it has to come towards the building, in which case they were gonna put
There
dry
are
wells.
And there are drains.
The
We
drainage should
already
be
have-
shown.
We already have drains installed in some areas.
Yeah.
I think there's one area where we are gonna need to install
Yeah,
another.
right, there's at least, one area where they're gonna have to do a drain to a dry well. That's about the extent of what I can speak to the drainage.
Right. Because normally what would happen would be, there would be back and forth between the town engineer and your architect or engineer, you know, regarding these issues, because,
Yeah.
you know, we certainly are not engineers, and I don't know if you are or not, but, you know, a lot of these would typically be addressed by the engineers, so. I guess my feeling right now, and it's just open for discussion amongst commission members, is that we should probably give the applicant a chance to work with their architect in regard to these points. And therefore, we would want to continue this meeting. That's open for discussion.
Yeah, I think so, personally. I'd like to be able to have a copy of the motion too and see what that looks like based on what we've heard versus what it looked like on paper. I didn't even read it. I just thought it was gonna be in the,
Yeah, okay, in the packet, you're right.
I'm sorry about that.
We're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And if we continue the meeting, I would at least just like to limit everything to just anything we've discussed, to avoid kind of duplicating our conversations to what's in the engineering report. And like focus just on those topics rather than trying to, you know, re-go over everything we just went over.
Right, yep.
So it'd be a shorter meeting instead of, you know, a
Yep.
longer question and answer
But
period like this.
Okay, I do have a question though. If the applicant is, if they're agreeing to all of this, if they agree to what's in here, I mean,
Mhm.
if they can read it and agree to it, I mean, is that an issue for us? I mean, is that a question
We
for?
can ask them, right?
Right.
Or,
I mean, John, can we ask you a question?
Sure, of course.
Do you want to ask that question?
Was it
Oh,
the question
yeah,
that you
do
just had?
Yeah, do you want me
Really?
to ask it?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
John, I just had a question. Is it a problem, so you understand what's happened, the applicant did not receive this
Right.
thing, so we have this, you know, this detailed memo from Jeff outlining the things that he would like to see. Is it a problem if we give this, you know, the applicant this thing now, if they say that they're gonna do everything that's in this memo? Is it a problem for us to go ahead and work with that, or?
I don't think so. You know, again, I would, you know, want to make sure that the applicant knew what they were agreeing to.
Right, that's the issue, right.
But, you know, nothing in Jeff's letter that I read seemed particularly onerous. It was mostly items of clarification.
Mm-hmm.
And then wanting to see some slightly revised, details on the actual site plan,
Okay.
just literally like drafting details.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't see anything in there that, you know, would make compliance impossible, I don't think. So again, it's how quickly the applicant is able to sort of go through and digest and see if there's anything in there that just really, you know, is too confusing or needs too much technical clarification. But you know, if they have a chance to look through and feel like it's acceptable, I think there's no problem with proceeding.
I
Okay.
think we should go ahead.
do you
if we
want to take a
can.
minute and?
But I see nothing in here that's really dictating something that needs to change with what we're asking for. It's, you know, in a few spots, they're pointing towards, you know, a regulation. I'm surprised that there's questions about the boundary survey of the site. Isn't that part of the package? I mean, you see the boundaries on those drawings. Zoning classifications, you guys know as well as.
Yeah, I think
my
these-
architect
But that should be
knows
on the drawings.
Yeah.
He's saying it should be on the drawings, that's all.
Right, so I
Just
can't,
drafting.
right,
Yeah.
so it would just be us agreeing that, yes, we'll have
Yeah.
to do that, for sure. I'm surprised that it wasn't already there. We hired a guy who.
Yes,
has
some
been
of
through
these
this
are
process
just,
before.
some of these
Yeah.
are just standard things that
Right.
should be done, but that's not a
And
big
they're
deal.
fairly common to show up in a review like this,
Yeah.
just to meet the town
Right.
standards, yeah.
What you're saying is that they're all common things, and it's more just the engineer and the architect kind of going back and forth and
Mhm.
revising the drawings. And I mean, I personally feel that I don't think we would need to make them come back and, you know,
Yep.
of everything. I think we can just make it part of the motion, and I think
Yep.
we should be comfortable with that at least.
Yeah, based on John's comments, I guess I'm leaning that way now too. Victoria, based on John's comments?
Yeah,
and
I'm meaning that.
the fact that there's nothing really.
Nice to,
Yeah, we know you want to get on with this.
Okay. Okay, the consensus then is if the applicant is comfortable proceeding, then we can go ahead and continue as we were. And see if we can move on this.
So just to say another way, we would finish this meeting, and then your zoning approval would be contingent upon us providing these number of things that are in here.
Yeah.
Which basically it was going to be
Anyways,
anyway.
right, we should have been here ahead of
But,
time.
but you would have known what they
Yes.
were.
That would have helped.
Yeah.
So we can expedite getting these things to you, but outside of this meeting, you would somehow give an approval for,
Oh, no,
We would do
We would
if
just-
we were to do an approval, it would be done at this meeting.
oh, at this meeting.
But part of the approval says that you, the applicant, must comply with
Okay.
what's listed in this document.
And
So,
then, if I might, procedurally, then I would assume, again, I'm relatively new helping the town, procedurally, I would assume the applicant would submit the revised plans to the land use office for, essentially for my review or my colleague Mike's review, to verify that all of Jeff Jacobson's comments and other stipulations have been added to that plan.
Mhm.
yes.
Makes sense.
So if you're comfortable moving with that approach, then we can continue as we were?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we're still entertaining questions then from commission members or any members from the public. Since this is a public hearing, if you would like to be heard on this application. If you're in the room, just raise your hand. If you're on Zoom, I believe there's a chat box you can check off, or raise your hand and we recognize you. Are we seeing anything from the public on, okay? Okay, further questions from commission members? Okay, hearing none, then may I have a motion to close the public hearing for application 21-11?
So moved. 21-11.
21-11. And may I have a second, please?
second.
All in favor?
Rob already seconded.
Okay, Rob seconded.
He needs to speak a little louder.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, the public hearing for application 21-11 is now closed. Any further discussion amongst commission members?
Well, I think we talked about this, but if we move forward with this, I would just like to just eliminate all reference to fireworks for the approval.
Okay, so we would have to make that, we would have to modify the condition, Dawn, on the approval that lists the activities that are being approved.
But I thought you said it didn't.
I think we would modify that to exclude fireworks,
Okay.
because it does not.
You could add that as an additional condition
Right.
onto the list.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Yep, that's a better way to do it. Okay, other questions, comments by commission members? Okay, now then I guess I would look to have the motion read into record. So we're gonna have to do this off our phones.
I've got it on my laptop.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, let Rob
You want me to
do
read
it.
Could I ask you to read it then, please, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. Just make it go.
I'm sorry, Rob, is the screen that my face is on a large screen?
It's half of a full screen.
Because I could share my screen and put a big copy of the memo on. Yes. It's like too small.
It's a little far away to be reading off of that screen.
Right, okay.
But thank you.
Okay, so, motion to approve application, number 21-11, 9 Rose Hill Road, request for special permit for outdoor special events, including weddings, gatherings, functions with sitting and standing room, live music, entertainment, wine, beer tastings, outdoor movies, firework displays, outdoor lighting, and proposed 22-foot by 25-foot structure for golf simulator. Application and property of Nexus Golf Properties LLC, Assessors Map 60, Lot 4, Zone RR.
But we're gonna exclude the fireworks.
So.
I think we're gonna add that as a, as a separate item.
And with the live entertainment, I mean, you did say trios, duos, acoustic. So I think we should also have that be clarified in there.
So, the motion does have, outdoor activities, including movies, dining, and live music, must comply with Town of Portland noise ordinance. So,
Okay.
continue reading?
Yes, please.
Okay. Approval is based on plans as shown on plans entitled New Paved Patio and Landscaping, including view deck, stair, and lean-to structure, Quarry Ridge Golf Course, prepared by Torsen Stone and Garden Landscaping, Hans P. Hansen Architectural Design, Architecture, and Gifforda Engineering, Electrical, and dated March 7th, 2022, as well as a planning and zoning general application form with the following attachments: deed and Schedule A, project narrative, and based on testimony presented and subject to the following instructions and conditions integral to this application. First condition, the outdoor activities, including movies, dining, and live music, must comply with the Town of Portland's noise ordinance. Condition 2, that lighting and landscaping details shown on the above referenced site plan set reflect a maximum condition, and applicant may phase the installation of these elements over time. Any expansion of landscaping, lighting, or structural facilities beyond what is depicted on the site plan set and within project narrative will require an application for modification of special permit. Condition 3, the applicant must comply with the agreed to restrictions for wastewater flow management outlined in correspondence between applicant and Chatham Health District dated April 12, 2022, letter from applicant to Chatham, and April 13, 2022, memo from Chatham to Portland Planning and Zoning Commission. Condition 4, the applicant must comply with the comments of the memorandum of Jeffrey L. Jacobson, P.E., Town Engineering Consultant, dated March 29, 2022, and provide modified site plans, including the details noted as missing, including parking calculations. Condition 5, a zoning permit is required for the structural components of this use. Condition 6, any proposed signage will require a signage permit and must conform to zoning regulation section 8.4. Condition 7, any exterior lighting shall be full cut off fixtures and conform to the requirements in ZR section 8.3. Condition 8, that the certified letter of approval be placed on the site plan and that a Mylar be filled on the land records within 180 days per ZR section 10.5.2 F.2.a, and that 3 paper copies of the complete set of plans be submitted. These requirements must be met prior to the issuance of a zoning permit. Condition 9, that any public site improvements are to be completed according to the approved plan prior to the issuance of a certificate of zoning compliance and the certificate of occupancy, or a performance bond will be required in accordance with ZR section 11.2.2.
And I think we wanted to add one more,
Okay.
Fireworks.
and I would suggest that the wording be something similar to fireworks would be excluded from the list of approved activities. Does that sound right to people?
Okay. And Condition 10. The use of fireworks will be excluded from the
List of
List.
approved outdoor activities.
of approved outdoor activities. I'll show you that now. And then, all right, end of the conditions. Reasons. The proposal conforms to sections 4.1 and 9.13 of the zoning regulations and is reflective of the goals of the Portland Plan of Conservation and Development.
Okay, thanks, Rob. May I have a second to the motion, please?
Second.
Okay, this is Bob. I vote aye. Victoria?
Aye.
Chantel?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Any opposed? There would be none. Okay, the application is approved.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commission, and thanks for the great questions.
Good luck to you.
Appreciate it.
Good luck. I hope to be up there taking advantage of that beautiful view.
Yes.
So I will speak with the land use department in the morning and see if we can get this, the issue about the communication, get that straightened out, because that's obviously a very important component of all this.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then we will continue with our regular meeting. So the next item of business is to receive in applications. I see none. Next is staff report. Now, John, this is usually produced by a staff member. I'm just going to read down the list, and I'm assuming you won't have any updates to them. If you do, stop me. So the first would be town center village reviews, bond reductions, zoning regulation work group, and any correspondence.
No, I have no update on those things. The one thing I would ask if we could do a quick motion. I know last meeting, you folks, as we were being onboarded, went ahead and formally appointed myself and my colleague Mike D'Amato as being able to act as zoning enforcement officers. We have another colleague that may be providing some service to the town on a sort of a rotating basis, and would just ask if this commission would also consider appointing our colleague Steve Maddock, who is also a certified zoning enforcement officer, to have authority to review and approve applications as well.
Would you spell his last name, please?
Sure, his name is Stephen, S-T-E-V-E-N, Nadek, H-N-A-T-U-K.
H, I believe it was
H,
H.
yes.
H.
H is in horse. Right. N is in Nancy. A-T-U as in umbrella, K.
H-N-A-P-K?
P-U-K.
P-U-K. H-N-A-P-U-K.
Correct.
Natick? Is that how you pronounce it?
Not
Peter is,
Nodic.
P as in Peter or T as in Tom?
P. P-U-K.
P as in Peter or T as in Tom?
P as in Tom.
Oh,
Okay, H-N-A-T-U-K. Pronounced Nodic.
Natick.
Okay, may I have a motion then to approve Stephen Nodic as an interim planner and zoning enforcement officer for the town of Portland?
So moved.
And a second?
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion is approved. Thanks for that, John.
Thank you.
Okay, next item under staff report would be a preliminary discussion of affordable housing by Meg Scada. So Meg, if you would, please come up to the podium and
So thank you for having me on your agenda tonight. It was kind of a last-minute thing, but I looked at the dates, and we have a timeline of June the 1st to get this finalized. So I requested to come to the meeting tonight to have a preliminary discussion, and I made sure that Liz gave you the 79-page plan or access to it, as well as the YouTube video. And just a little background, Mary had fostered this for the last couple of years, and with her resignation, I was asked by Ryan Curley to usher this through to June the 1st. Mary recommended me to Rivercog to be the person to do this. I had attended the meetings, and I also had participated in the survey, which was done, and this was a comprehensive regional plan that was done, and then each town was required to do their own data collection and analysis. And so what you were looking at is the preliminary plan that would go to the state. There are some things that will have to be approved and discussed, and those are really the strategies that were provided to you. We did a vision value statement, and I believe some of that was written by Rivercog and Mary back as they were developing this plan. I did take it around to a couple of people and have them look at it. It's going to, the vision and value statement will probably go through one more edit. And then that'll be, I'll send that to you so that you have that by the May 5th meeting. But what's particularly important is the strategies that came out of the February 23rd meeting. And basically, the plan was discussed with the people who were attending. And then there was a polling at the end as to what the strategies might look like. And so that was where they were developed, and the recommendations to pick some or all of them to do use a 5-year window to set some goals and visions for the town, and then to actually have that to work on them so that we can have something accomplished. Are there any questions about the plan in itself? Because it really is extensive, and the good news is that Portland is in really good shape. Your planning and zoning laws, the regulations are top-notch and are used as prototypes for other towns, apparently, from what Mary was telling me before she left.
Now, I'll confess, I did not read the 75-page document. I
That's
did
okay.
watch the YouTube video.
And that YouTube video is helpful. I wish that
Very
more
good,
people had
yeah.
been on it. There were a small number of people, but all interested, and all people that participate in other commissions related to an affordable housing plan. Coming into it, affordable housing to me meant low-income housing, and so I've been really learned quite a bit about what housing looks like. And Portland, the state would like towns to have a 10% affordable housing inventory. Portland has 8.1%, which is really remarkable. And affordable housing is not low-income housing, although we do have a housing authority that does provide for housing with low-income families. But basically, affordable housing it goes on a median, 80% of the median income in an area or a town. And it also it requires 30% of your income to be dedicated to housing. And we know that rents are very expensive, and sometimes people with low income paying jobs really are working 2 and 3 jobs to put a roof over their heads. So having an inventory and making it available, and also educating people is an important component. What I'd like to do is if you have any questions, take those back to Rivercog. And Mary did say that John, I believe John, who's the town planner filling in right now, is knowledgeable as well. He can answer questions. I think he's had spoken to Mary before she left. What I would like to do is if there are any questions, and I can answer them, to do that tonight, but then also to have planning and zoning look at the strategies and prioritize them or change the priorities. And there's a lot there. What you will plan, what you will agree to do, or what you will plan to do, would be the final step in this process, and then it would be approved by you, hopefully by May the 5th. And then I did ask Ryan to take it to the Board of Selectmen to bless it and to make sure that resources are allocated to these goals that are going to be set. Does that make sense in that process?
And I do know, like you mentioned, there is a June 1 time frame.
There is.
And-
I think the Rivercog wants to have everything in by June the 1st because the final date is really June the 30th, from what my understanding of the law. Whatever that requirement was for municipalities to have these things done. And I think they're going to put them all together, and then that'll be the final plan. Is
So
to
the
take 'em up to the
deliverable
state.
from the town by end of June is this 75-page
Yes.
document?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's been, it's been a data driven analysis, so they've been doing this for the last 3 years, basically. If you go back to the Rivercog website and you look at the January 24th plan, that was the regional plan, which highlighted the deficits, the assets and the deficits within the region. And, we're not Hartford or New Haven. We are a bedroom town, we don't have counties anymore, but Middlesex County is not a place where there's a lot of employment. Most people are driving into the bigger cities those are the big employment centers. So there were some deficits. Transportation is a big one. The per capita income in the different municipalities within Middlesex County affect what affordable housing is in, for instance, Essex or Saybrook or some of the lower shoreline towns. Portland really fares very, very well. And I met with Ryan after I talked to Rivercog at length. Middlesex County is an interesting place because a lot of leisure activities in small rural towns. But we also, Portland is well balanced in terms of what we have for housing, and our population is stable. We have intergenerational, multi-generational families living here, people coming back. We also have very good school systems. We have an interesting topography where there's not a lot of buildable land. We have state forests. We have floodplains. So it's not like Middletown where there's a lot of open space or open areas where people are building. So we are, and we also don't have water and sewer in the whole town. That's a huge. That's huge. 80% of the people have septics and wells, and we're probably not going to be building town water supplies to Job's Pond or Job's some of the back roads there. I happen to have, where I live on Freedom Way, because it was an Army installation, I do have city water, and we have septic tanks. But that's an anomaly in that rural area. So, but Portland is well positioned for where they are and what they have, and I think it can only go forward in terms of its growth and making more affordable housing available will increase the opportunities for people to live in Portland and enjoy what we all enjoy right now. This little corner of the world is okay.
So I'm just wondering, you're looking for us to, it says P&Z will adopt all or some of these strategies. I take it, I didn't look at the 75-page thing either. I
No.
take it this is a summary of
This is a
what's in
summary.
there,
This was right.
But what's the action on our part?
Well, I was told that Planning and Zoning would approve this. And obviously, this will be tied in with the Conservation and Development Plan.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of all comes together. Planning and Zoning being the entity which would determine whether or not we could have additional ADUs. We believe we have in-law apartments
Mm-hmm.
now, but there are other configurations that
Mm-hmm.
might also allowing or looking at zoning laws that would allow us to refurbish buildings. I talked to Lon Seidman the other day. He's on a board with me for the Connecticut Association of the Board of Educations, but he also is on the board of an organization called HOPE that is actually refurbishing old buildings down in the Essex-Saybrook area and making it into affordable housing, which is a fascinating process in itself. I don't know if we have anything that could be refurbished right now, but if we looked around and we looked at the inventory, that's certainly a possibility. but that might require zoning and laws that would,
Weren't we talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We were talking
we were
about
talking about
Accessory,
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
accessory
oh,
use.
interesting, okay, so
Yeah.
you're already ahead of the curve here, great, all right. I think that somebody has to set the goals, and I think this is the place where it comes, because listening to the people that bought the Quarry View golf course, they want to bring the business to town, they want to increase their business so that they can enjoy an income, but there's a big process that goes on with it, and so I think this is the place where we would begin the process, but educating people about CHFA and affordable housing loans and how people can get into housing, how they can actually buy something or whatever. Those are all parts of, because affordable housing is also for people, first-time buyers. And we don't have a lot of inventory of homes that would be affordable for first-time buyers as well. So again, planning and zoning would not be involved in that, but that would be, economic development or conservation and development. I see this as a town opportunity to come together as a community. But this is where the rubber hits the road, as they speak, where somebody comes in with an idea and then they can't do it because of the zoning or because of some regulation. So this is preliminary. What I would like to do, and did you want to say something?
John, did you want to say something?
Yeah, no, I didn't interrupt. As Meg noted, I have actually been working on these similar plans for 6 other Norcod towns, so I'm familiar with the process.
Okay.
I would encourage you, if you guys have copies of this, or you're given copies, I haven't seen the Portland one, that before, basically towards the end of the main plan and before the appendix, there's probably 2 or 3 pages of proposed action items.
That's what.
I'm sorry?
That's what the strategies are. Those were the action items that came out of, yeah.
Right, so I would, the great majority of the rest of the plan is basically a recitation of data.
It is.
Of, Portland's current conditions in terms of its population, in terms of its housing stock, in terms of its trends, its gaps.
Yeah.
And really, I think if this commission is gonna, sort of take one piece of this and sort of assess whether or not this is appropriate, would be to focus on those action items.
Right.
And provide commentary in the next couple of weeks to Rivercog. I think through myself would be fine. And we can, and I believe SLR is the primary consultant.
They are.
With, so to Robert Collins or Karen Martin.
That's exactly, yeah, and that's who was directing me to do it in this process. So I'm sorry that you didn't get a copy. That's my fault that I didn't. And we didn't print anything. We actually gave you the links to the Portland, because it was extensive. Liz said, "Oh, I can copy that," and then she looked and said 79 pages, and I said, "No, don't do that. Save a tree, please." Okay.
Yeah, I would say, obviously the document is extensive, but to sort of shortcut it a little bit for the commission to kind of focus your attention, I would focus on those action steps.
Right, and those action steps are basically, I believe there are 4 or 5 of them, and some of them apply directly to, ADUs. I think I did bring it. It's over in my folder, but and we could put it up on the screen. But I think the discussion should be weighing in on those strategies that are on that document that you have in front of you, and then coming back. And I'm happy to put you in touch again, and be in touch with you to discuss it with Karen and Robert and also Megan to make sure that we do this in the right order. This is brand new to me. I had to do a lot of research and reading. I'm involved in youth services right now, and I'm doing something with the Mercy Housing for the grant that we have for people to work in placing homeless people or nearly homeless people in housing. But that's different than this, and I've learned that there's so many different categories of housing, but this is something that's of interest to me. So I did read and do some research, and hopefully I'm doing this in the right order, to get this through.
So what should we have another, a work group meeting? Is that what this
Is that
is?
what the
Yeah.
towns are doing?
Can we come up with something as a commission and then present what we're feeling, or is that, or do we
But then we
just?
have to publish it as a meeting, right? We have 3 or more people, we need to quorum.
I would think that you would want to take a look at the strategies that were recommended based on the data and the information that was acquired. And then there's a 5-year window, if I'm not mistaken, so a couple of strategies. It doesn't have to be all of them. It could be 2 or 3, correct? And then there's a 5-year window to actually, how are we going to implement that? How are we going to make that change? And the goal is to increase the housing limit to 10%. Is that correct? Is that your understanding, John?
No.
Oh.
I mean, that could have been the goal specifically for Portland.
For Portland,
Because you guys are quite close.
We are, we're at 8.1.
10%.
Yeah.
Right. For most towns, and those that I work with, I'm working with, Essex and Chester and Deep River and Lyme.
Okay.
They are nowhere close to even Portland's 8%. Each of those
Right.
towns are around 1.5 to 2.5%.
Right.
So
Right.
their goal is not 10% in,
Right.
in 5 years if impossible.
Right.
They're looking at, other sort of non-numeric targets, which is just, to change regulations to make things easier to,
Right.
identify areas of town. So there, any numeric target that a town sets is entirely the choice of that
Of the
town.
choice of the town, okay. And
The 10% threshold is a separate statute that has really nothing to do specifically with the creation of this plan.
with the creation of the plan, but because we are so close to the 10% that the state would like to see us have, I believe that was one of the things to increase that percentage.
So I do have a question.
Please.
And I don't remember the year that the survey was provided to the town and the data was accumulated, but it said there was only 68 responses from our town. So are we sure that that is ample representation of what the needs are?
Well, that's the data that was accumulated, and to be
That was-
honest,
If I might,
yeah,
that was just a survey that was done in association with this
right,
Yeah.
study. It was, Rivercog went out with basically a regional, public opinion study. And yeah, there wasn't a number of towns didn't have very high participation.
right,
But the results of the study are not binding, that they're taken sort of just as that. It's a data point, it's what, 68 of your fellow residents
Yeah.
right,
thought. The hard data of, what actual conditions are, came from the Census Bureau, American Community Survey, State Department of Housing, HUD. The public opinion survey is
Right.
just, sort of an additional element. It was not, used in any scientific way.
right.
So one question I had, are the housing plans for Brainerd Place factored into any of this? Probably not, right? Because it's not in place, it's not reality yet.
That's correct, it's not.
Because that could change our numbers
Oh, it certainly could.
pretty significantly.
If those 99 units that I heard were going to come on between now and 2023, it could. But there are other options. Apartments is only one configuration of affordable housing, and multifamily, and then refurbishing buildings, refurbishing an office building or a school or a church or whatever. Multifamily, and then the in-law apartments. Some ADUs now are small buildings, and I don't know what the square footage is, and John could probably talk to this, but a building located either attached to the house or in the back of the yard, The North Pacific is doing a lot of that, and they're doing it in little tiny yards in Portland and Seattle. And people are renting them out to a non-family member. A lot of times in-law apartments are family members. They're either an elderly or, a young person who's living in an in-law apartment or in-house apartment. But there are a lot of different configurations. Also, to allow for developers to come and to offer to develop properties in ways. That means that planning and zoning and, has to be involved in that. And would we allow a lot of development? And can we? I mean, if we don't have water and sewers in appropriate places, that will hamper some of the development that might take place as well.
I'm looking at the list of the four action, or,
Right.
four proposed action items, and I think 3 out of 4 of them are things, well, 2 of them, I think, are stuff that we've already talked about in some capacity since I've been on the board.
And Mary did indicate that this is, she said this is a very good board, and they are on top of things all the way around. So she gave you high marks for the work that you have done. And because of that, this affordable plan is probably easier to implement than in some places where they're dealing with lower inventory of affordable housing.
Could you talk a little bit about the third action item, the incentives for deed restricted affordable units for new developments? Like, what are some of the, other towns have done with that? What
Well,
have you seen work?
private development, I think when I talked to Lon Seidman, and this is down in Essex, I believe, John, you could talk to it. It's called the Hope Group, and they are refurbishing an office building for affordable housing. Is that correct? They're raising money separately and building, I think down along by the Essex Railroad, there was a building that didn't have much luck in terms of being filled with offices or whatever, so they have taken it over. And they've done a couple of things, a building in Old Saybrook, which is affordable housing as well. Do you know about that?
Yeah. I've been the town planner in Essex for about 14 years.
Okay, so then you do know about that, okay.
It's the whole partnership. It's an
It's-
affordable housing nonprofit.
Right.
And one of their recent successful projects was Spencer's Corner, which is the center point section of Essex.
Yep.
That's an old office condo that the upper 2 levels, it's a 3-story, upper levels were very underutilized, mostly empty, and they came up with a project and got some tax credits, got some affordable housing funding, and basically created 18 new affordable apartments, second and third level of this existing office building. So really no new footprint of construction, no new ground broken. It was all retrofit. Pretty cool project.
It is a cool project. It sounded really,
Nice.
that would be one.
Okay, because that sounds like it fits under the second one, I was more asking about the third one, which talks about the new development.
New development. I would have to defer to John, and I think that we could answer that if I do a little more research for you. But I'll go back and I'll get the details of that.
A new hope project?
Well, he's saying the third, and that you don't have this in front of you either, the recommendation. Do you want to read it?
Maybe read that, Rob?
Yeah, it's, the third item is incentives for deed restricted affordable units and new developments.
Okay. Well, so there's a number of ways to do that, and I don't know if there's any additional detail. But
There is.
often regulations can be developed that provide developers density bonuses. So if they were doing a multifamily, and say your standard zoning regulation said, okay, you get 4 units per acre of multifamily, you could provide a density bonus that says if the additional units are affordable, you can go up to 8 units to the acre. So that it creates an additional opportunity for both the developer to build some more units and the town to get some restricted affordable units. That's one method. Other methods could be something like tax breaks, property tax abatements, or things like that. But there are a couple of different methods to work with developers to encourage something like that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I personally would recommend the YouTube video. It's about an hour, or a little more maybe, but it introduced me to a lot of terms surrounding affordable housing that I was not aware of. So it was very helpful in that. And by doing that, it may help make some more sense of some of these strategies that we're being asked.
What I'd like to do is bring Megan or Karen Martin and Robert Collins. They could come and answer the questions directly because they were the ones, SLR did the data capture, and the three of them have been working pretty diligently. And I think John is probably a good voice as well if he's working in other communities on these plans. I just wanted to bring it to you. I didn't want to surprise you and say, hey, look at this document and hand you a 79-page document tonight. I'm not the expert. I wish that that things were different and that Mary could finish the process that she went through, because she really did work very, very hard on this, and she entrusted me with the work to do it. She said, oh, Meg, you can do this. So here I am, and I'm learning just like you are. I had to sit down and look at what affordable housing was, and I've learned a lot, and I'm determined to see this through to the end now. So I will get answers for you and bring people in that can answer the questions, if that's okay. The next meeting you have is May the 5th.
Yes, and at that meeting, we can expect a revised document, going through the final revision?
The final revision is basically a vision and value statement. I took the boilerplate that they gave me, and I've shared that with a couple of people that have been involved and who came to the meeting on February 23rd. And we were inserting a couple of other sentences, but that's about, so you have that document with the vision and value statement, and then the strategies at the bottom. So that will be revised, but it won't be significantly revised. It'll pretty much be the same. And that was, they gave us a boilerplate. We took, and I looked at websites. I looked at the Conservation and Development Plan. I looked at the town website, and I spoke to several people who are involved and who have a good way of talking about the vision and values that the town has. So it's really repetitive information. It's not any new information. But it's just that'll be the preamble to the plan.
Okay, any questions for Meg? Any further questions?
Okay.
All right.
All right,
Thank you
so
very much.
I'll make sure that we have somebody from RiverCog here on the 5th to answer any more questions. And I think if there's any questions, and John and I can talk in the next couple of days, we can also maybe assist. If you have questions, feed them to John, and then and we can get some answers before the next meeting. Does that make sense?
Of course. And if people haven't been given the address, Mike and I are using the address PZC, like Planning and Zoning Commission, in Portland CC. So
Okay.
that gets us.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. Does that make sense? All right. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for my ineptitude tonight. But I'm trying, and I think we'll get this done. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Meg. Okay. Now we will move on to our other category. 21-13, 264 Freestone Avenue. We are tabling conversation on that until further information is provided.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So relative to that, there was a couple of late emails that came out. We did get an email from the applicant on this matter, in which the applicant, Ray Grant, did have a letter of opinion from his engineer arguing that there would be approximately 12,650 cubic yards of excavation, which, if correct, would fall below the special permit threshold and would just be a site plan. And it was signed by a professional engineer, Robert Mulchamatis. So I would strongly recommend that the town ask Beth Jacobson to review the calculations. But I think you can probably, because it was signed and attested by a professional engineer, you can proceed under the assumption that this would be a site plan review you can take up at your May 5th meeting.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, application 21-14 has been withdrawn. Going to pursue a different path. Application 21-15, which is 264 Freestone Avenue, request for a special permit for plastics manufacturing. We briefly touched on this at last meeting, so the public hearing is set for our next meeting, May 5th. Application 21-12, amendments to the town zoning regulations. So I think we're all familiar with this, and this is on here because we do not have, we do have a tentative date of 5/19. Now, I believe, John, you and Mike have been provided copies of the revisions we're planning to do to the amendments. Is that correct?
Yes, that's about as far as I'll go, yes, we've received copies.
You have received copies, so I guess, is your opinion 5/19 is a reasonable date to set for a public hearing? Will that give you time to review and respond?
Yes, we can do that. And these are generated by the commission itself. It's not an outside applicant, right?
Correct. This is an application by the zoning commission, yes.
Yeah. That should be fine.
Okay, thanks. Anything else under other? Okay, next item. Go
I
ahead,
just have
Chantal.
I just had one thought about the cannabis
Yeah.
thing. Does this need to be, do we need to look at that again, since we've already had one approved, and did we do anything different? I mean, did we do something different from what was here?
I do know that was discussed with Carrie, right?
Right.
She did bring it up, whether we should review it. The only condition I can recall that we put on that approval was the restriction on the second floor, the fact that it not be an apartment,
But
or that the
yeah.
apartment be vacated by the time business.
And that was really a function of the building that it was going in more than anything else, wasn't it? Because wasn't that an existing use? It was a, that was a,
It was an existing apartment, yep.
it was a existing apartment in a business zone, you know, it was one of those grandfathered things.
Right.
The non-conforming.
Non-conforming, thank you. So I don't even know whether that had anything to do with the whole, I don't know whether that really had anything to do with the cannabis part of it.
You know, I mean, I didn't look at it with, you know, this kind of scrutiny that our friend at the other end of the table would probably look at it. But I was thinking about whether or not we contradicted ourselves at all, and I didn't see any contradiction in what we were talking about, putting in for the regulations and what we approved.
I think the only thing that seemed contradictory was the zones. I think that in our proposal, we're saying that it would be a special permit. It would be allowed by special permit in all the business zones. But something tells me that the way it's written for the medical marijuana thing, which is the thing that we went off of, right? It was only in B2. And it wasn't allowed in the other zones. That's just what I remember. I could be wrong. But if that's the case, we just got lucky that the guy was in B2 and it was allowed. That's what, hold on, I have to look. Yeah, that's what it is. It's not, for whatever reason, it wasn't allowed in B1 or B3. And it's only allowed by special permit in B2. So that's the only thing that doesn't really make any sense. I don't remember why it was like that. But
But it doesn't contradict I mean, the new verbiage doesn't contradict what we've already done. It
Nope.
just
No,
changes.
no,
so
it makes it more, it makes it
broadens it.
available and more,
in more business
Right.
districts.
And, I mean, as far as, since we've already approved their site plan, it wouldn't really matter what we do now, but when it comes to the changing anything. What would be an impact would be is if they don't get the license from the state, and then they can't proceed with running the business, which means that we could accept another application at that point for a different business. That's when any zoning regulations that we pass would take effect, would be for that new business. But right now, it's it doesn't matter what we do when it comes to changing anything, because it won't impact anything we've already done.
Right, but it's nice to be consistent. is all.
we like to be consistent.
So,
Well, that was the only thing that I
So-
found that was.
So what are you saying? Are you saying that we should just have it allow it by a special permit in a B2?
So make it
And
consistent with our
not
existing
B1 and
regulation?
B3?
Well, I don't recall why we,
I don't even.
you know, I don't recall why we didn't have it available in B1 or B3.
Is that the new changes that were proposed?
No,
or-
those were
This is
that's what we
current.
had for medical marijuana, and that's what we ended up using, remember? Because of, we said that that applied because of the state statute, we applied it to that. So, and, you know, the guy was in B2.
So it worked out.
So it worked out.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have the.
Yeah, that would have been a problem. So I don't know.
So are you saying you want to change it to SP for B1 and B3 for medical? Or,
I think when we talked about this, if I recall, I mean, you probably recall better than
You're younger than
but-
I am.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that, actually. But I think that we talked about restricting it to B2, and we decided not to. We decided to have it be B1, B2, and B3,
Yeah.
and open it up.
And none of us can remember why.
I think, I think that we couldn't, that we didn't, my recollection is that we couldn't think of a reason
Why
not
not?
to.
Mm.
yeah.
You know, why, none of us could, why should it be restricted? Like, and nobody really had a good reason
But
for
you're
saying we couldn't.
Does it match the alcohol thing?
That's what I was just gonna
Oh,
look
it's
at,
the
yeah.
alcohol, I
It
think.
That's what it
matches,
is.
That's
yeah.
probably, well, I don't know.
So the
Let's
Well,
see.
maybe
existing
not.
Maybe not.
medical,
So where
No.
would
let's
this
see,
be?
package stores, liquor stores. No?
Yeah,
Well,
that's what it is, not.
that's site plan,
it's-
right?
Yeah, but it's not allowed in B1 and
Huh.
B3. So that's probably, you know, so that consistency, like, we try to be consistent with some
Yeah.
things, but that's probably it. It was a site plan, but not allowed in B1 or B3. Like, again, like, why wouldn't it be allowed in B1 or B3?
Question. Is what's on the table right now just more just setting a date for the public hearing so we can actually discuss this? Or is
Ah!
it, okay.
What happened?
Motion sensing lights.
Motion.
We're all like this.
Or is this like more of a conversation that we're having,
It's,
about?
yeah, it started out as trying to set a date, but it's evolved into a.
Sorry, I got it.
No, that's okay. It evolved into a discussion about, do we need to address some of the cannabis regulations that we're proposing based on what we learned or what we discovered with our last application? So is this something we look towards John and Mike to kind of give us opinion on, or is that, I don't know. I don't,
Well, what is the question? Do we want to be consistent with alcohol or not, right? Is that the question?
two questions. Well, do we want our new regulations for recreational marijuana to be consistent with medical marijuana, which is kind of how it was put together for our application that we just approved, right? Recreational and medical are kind of the same thing, dispensaries,
Right,
right? Isn't that where we ended up?
yeah.
So there are different regulations for medical dispensaries in our current regulations than what we're proposing for recreational dispensary. So that's one question. Should those be married? And how closely do we want to mirror those of alcohol or package stores? And I thought we had talked about separating package stores from cannabis, but we really hadn't addressed marrying recreational cannabis with medical cannabis.
Yeah, and I think that the B1, B2, B3 reflects the fact that we weren't being consistent with the alcohol thing.
Mhm.
But now we're inconsistent with the.
With medical.
With the medical.
So either we change medical, or we change, or
Or we don't change anything,
Or we
right?
don't change
He's just-
anything.
He's just grandfathered in before.
Oh, but he's fine anyway,
We
he's fine,
Run
he's
into
fine.
a problem where you have medical cannabis and you have a potential for a hybrid retailer, which is adult use and medical. Where if you have, somebody comes up with a license for that, or the guy we just gave the permit, passed the zoning plan for, if he applies for a hybrid, which I don't think that's in the plan, so it works right now, but it's down the road, however long, and there would be a conflict then. So we either have to remove the medical section entirely and then update the new section to include medical cannabis establishments, retail establishments, and kind of work that into the language, which is more, I think, would be easier, I think, because then we've done all the legwork already. It's just a matter of adding in an extra, term for it, saying retail store, or, medical marijuana dispensary. So,
But that would marry the two.
yeah. So it would pretty much be including it in the new section that we've drafted up for cannabis establishments, and would be getting rid of the old language that we had for medical, specifically for medical cannabis.
So what do you want to do?
we're a commission.
Well, and then for some reason, I have a note on my, which I have little notes where we must have talked about changing packaging liquor stores to a site plan for all business zones, because I have SP question mark, SP question mark cross, where you said it, we must have talked about that. I wouldn't have just written that in there.
Yeah, that would be special
A
permit.
special permit, yeah, special permit. So,
Yeah.
I think we were all over the place on that one. But it sounds like what
Well-
Rob said would be the easiest, so. But we can talk about, oh no, do we have to have these,
Yeah, I mean,
we wanna have these in order before the
right,
19th.
before the 19th, which will be here before we know it.
Right.
Well, I guess, I'm sorry that I threw that monkey wrench into the whole thing, but
Well, no.
I don't have an issue going forward with what we have. It really expands it to, it's making it more accessible instead of limiting it. I think that we can always go back and change the availability in the zones for the medical if we want to, and just make it available in the B1 and B3.
Can we, continue working on the cannabis stuff, but hold off on that specific section for May 19th, since there's no longer a rush on it?
Yeah.
And we focus on the other sections, which, like corner lots has a bit more impact on, towns.
Right.
The
Okay.
townspeople in that,
Right. Yeah, that thought crossed my mind, so what do people think of that?
Okay. That
So we
sounds
would
good.
remove the cannabis changes from our application. I think that's what we're saying, and continue working on it. Because Rob's point about if a hybrid license is
Yeah.
approved and a reality, then it sounds like we probably need consistency between
Right.
our retail and our medical
Mhm.
dispensaries.
Okay, and is it a problem to just take this section off it?
I don't think so. Hasn't gone,
John?
it hasn't gone in front of the public yet,
Okay.
right?
No, it's, yeah, and, right, yeah, this is the commission's application.
Yeah.
So you're really not bound by any, timeframes or things like that. You can just, you might want to do a motion just to remove that portion from the thing that we, set for legal notices and such.
Is there somewhere in there that you talked about the distance between one and another? Didn't we talk about that? Is that
Well,
in-
I think there's a population, isn't there a population?
Yeah.
So we could only have,
So we don't have to worry about a second one?
A
Or-
retail?
Well, yeah, Portland will only ever get one, until it gets over 25,000 population, but that could be a while.
Or until they change the legislation.
Or until they change the right.
Yeah. At which time we could react to it, I guess. Well,
if we're here.
so, John, are you recommending that we make a motion tonight to remove this from the
Yeah,
application?
So you were gonna, have a motion to set the public hearing, right? So I would say to set the public hearing for the application, 21-12, with the amendment of removing, proposed amendments, related to cannabis.
Yeah, we typically do not have a motion for setting public hearing dates, so.
Is that right?
We,
Okay.
yeah, we just kind of,
That's fine.
in the past, it's kind of been decided by, town staff, I think, pretty much, but,
I'm not gonna do that.
yeah. We're here to help you, John.
So if you've done it by consensus, that's fine. So then we
Okay.
can just take that part out.
Okay. Everybody okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay. So, I guess as long as it's in the minutes that we have a general consensus from the commission that will remove cannabis-related topics from our application for regulation amendments. 21-12. Okay.
And I will confirm with Liz that that's being removed and that you guys can have a hearing in the 19th.
19, yep. Okay. Anything else on that topic? Okay, we'll now move to public comment. Anyone in the public who would like to make brief comments at this point may do so. Nothing online, okay, nobody here in the room, then we'll move on. Next item is to approve the minutes from our April 7th meeting. And present at that meeting were myself, Chantel, Victoria, Carolyn, Rob, and Tom.
Oh, you were there twice.
I was there twice. I got double pay that night, too. Okay.
One quick edit on that.
Yes, okay.
Under election of officers, there's a point where it just says it was seconded by Bob Taylor. Just a quick revision to that to, you know, Rob Taylor, just because
Oh,
I
yep.
don't go by
Okay.
Bob.
Well, and I also think that it says members present, Carolyn Freeman alternate.
Yeah.
Is no longer an alternate.
Right. So we'll,
And so we couldn't have voted for officers.
yep, good point.
And it also talks about under item 2, introduction of members and seating of alternates. It has alternates Carolyn Freeman and Thomas Bransfield, so I think that needs to be updated. And I also think, it says on, under the public hearing discussion and about oh, it looks like the beginning of maybe the 6th paragraph, it refers to Bob Taylor again.
Okay.
To Rob Taylor.
Okay.
Now, just making sure that those references aren't, they're not referencing to you, Bob, just
Right,
making
Yeah.
sure that those are correct.
yes,
Okay.
thank you. Okay, any other alterations?
Oh, if you look under the adjourn, Vice Chair Foster entertained a motion to adjourn, and then she also made a motion to adjourn. It looks like there was no,
Yeah,
who
no
seconded
second.
it?
Okay.
I know I made that motion, because I always make that
I
motion.
think we all seconded it.
And we probably all seconded it, so pick a name.
All right, I'm gonna pick Carolyn. So we'll say
Oh, 'cause
Carol.
I found it.
Yeah. And that should read, so Vice Chair Foster entertained a motion to adjourn. Carolyn Freeman seconded the motion. Yep. Okay. So, may I have a motion to approve the revised minutes from April 7th?
So moved.
And a second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion to approve the minutes is approved. And next would be a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the meeting is adjourned.
Yay,
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Thanks, John.
Okay, I have to
Bob.
all do now.
What's that?
What your lead one?
Me, I'm.